35-year-old Charles Clark of Mentor, Ohio, planned to spend Christmas Eve of 1959 caroling with the Boy Scout troop he was the leader of. The father of four was also a Sunday school superintendent and an engineer at Reliance Electric. At 6:40 p.m., he was in his kitchen opening a can of pumpkin for his wife, who was making pie for Christmas dinner. Charles was then shot in his right temple through the kitchen window. He fell to the floor and died, clad in his Boy Scout uniform. Charles's 12-year-old daughter, Carol, told police that her father had only been in front of the window for 4 seconds, meaning that the killer had been lying in wait and must have been a skilled sniper. Suspicion quickly turned to a man named Floyd Hargrove. Hargrove was a 34-year-old divorced truck driver. He had served as a rifleman in the Air Force, where he had earned a medal for sharpshooting. He was also one of 6 men Charles Clark's wife Lois had admitted to having an affair with. Hargrove was arrested for the murder a mere 3 hours after it occurred. He was released after he passed a polygraph examination. He was rearrested 5 days later after police received a phone call from a friend of Hargrove's named John Ozinger Jr. According to Ozinger, Hargrove had confessed to him that he had purchased a .22 caliber rifle on December 23rd for the purpose of killing Charles Clark. Under a purported truth serum administered by a psychiatrist, Hargrove did admit to killing Charles so that he would be able to marry Lois. He further stated that he had thrown the rifle into the Chagrin River after the crime. At his trial in 1960, he claimed that he had only confessed because police were threatening to make his affair with Lois public, and he desperately wanted to keep it a secret. He did concede that he had wanted to marry Lois, going so far as to ask her to divorce Clark in the summer of 1959, but she had refused to, not wanting to hurt her husband's feelings. On June 8, 1960, a jury found Hargrove not guilty. A juror told a reporter that while members of the jury thought that it was possible that Hargrove committed the crime, the state did not successfully prove that he did. Lois Clark received over $100,000 in life insurance following her husband's death. She denied any prior knowledge of the crime, and Charles Clark's parents publicly supported her, even after her infidelity came to light. No one else has ever been brought to trial for the murder, so Charles's case remains unsolved. Cesar Torralba lived in Asbury Park, New Jersey, with his wife Minerva and their 2 young daughters. On Christmas Eve of 2007, he left his family's apartment on 6th Street to visit the Super Extra grocery store. His father was flying in from Mexico for Christmas, and Cesar wanted to make stuffed chilies for Christmas dinner for him. He successfully purchased the necessary ingredients for the meal, but ran into trouble before he could make it home. Minerva Torralba heard her husband's voice outside their apartment and assumed that he was chatting with one of her neighbors, as he often did. She looked out the peephole on her front door to see who he was speaking with, but she did not see a friendly face. Instead, she saw an unfamiliar African-American man dressed in black, with a gun pointed on her husband. Minerva ran for her phone to call 911, but she heard a gunshot from outside before she could even reach it. Cesar passed away an hour later. He died 16 days short of his 36th birthday. The Torralbas received an outpouring of support from their community following the murder. The Guardian Angels, the nonprofit Community Safety Patrol, came to Asbury Park to pass out flyers looking for information. 3 weeks after Cesar was killed, more than 150 people marched in Asbury Park to protest the violence in their community. Despite these community efforts, no suspect was ever identified. Minerva Torralba continues to speak to the media and pressure local authorities to stay focused on the case, hoping that one day she will be able to get justice for her late husband. Tracy loved Christmas. The 25-year-old married mother of 4 was known to put up her Christmas tree in October so she could savor the season for longer. Tragically, in 1999, she would not get to see her favorite holiday. Tera spent December 23, 1999, celebrating her son Paul's 7th birthday. She then went to work her overnight shift at the Pantry, a convenience store directly across the street from her home. Tera enjoyed her job because it allowed her to be at home with her children during the day while her husband was at work, and she did not have to worry about transportation to get there. A family friend saw Tera at the store at 3:15 a.m. on Christmas Eve. At 4:20 a.m., a bread delivery man arrived at the store. He found Tera bleeding badly behind the counter, and the store in disarray. Tera was rushed to the hospital, but died soon after she arrived. She had been stabbed multiple times, and defensive wounds on her hands show that she fought her attacker fiercely. The cash register had been knocked over, and some cash, less than $50, and some cigarettes were missing from the store. While robbery would be an obvious motive in the murder, certain details make those close to the case believe there was a more personal motive at play. The instrument used to stab Tera has been described by the police as unique. They have never publicly identified what it was to protect the integrity of the ongoing investigation. They have stated, however, that it is something that a robber would not normally bring with them to commit a robbery. Tera's family also believes that she knew her killer because her keys were found in the door, meaning she let the assailant into the store, which she would not have done for a stranger while she was alone at night. Tera's husband moved their children away almost immediately after the murder, not being able to cope with living so close to the scene of the crime. Tera's mother, Janice Hamilton, lost her other daughter, Nikki, just 17 months after losing Tera, when she was killed by a drunk driver on Memorial Day. The Pantry is now a BP station, and Tera's home was eventually demolished. A CVS now stands in its place. Police say they have persons of interest in Tera's case, but the case remains stalled. Nick Jeatran, 82, and his 74-year-old wife, Demetra, were originally from Greece. They had owned and run a hotel in Wisconsin, but had retired to the warmer climate of Clearwater, Florida. They liked to drive to the beach at dusk and spend hours watching the waves roll in with friends from the local Greek community. On Christmas Eve of 1968, a neighbor of the couple's knocked on their door. They had Christmas presents to deliver. The neighbor did not receive an answer, so they peered into the house through the front window. At first, the view was festive. The lights on the couple's Christmas tree were blinking, and a pile of Christmas cookies were on a tray on the kitchen counter. Then the neighbor noticed the terrible scene on the living room floor. Both Demetra and Nick lying on the floor, both in their pajamas. They had both been beaten about the head. Demetra was dead by the time police arrived. Nick was alive, but barely clinging to consciousness. He was able to speak, but was reportedly rambling incoherently. He managed to cling to life for 3 more days in the hospital, before finally passing away due to his injuries. There had been a recent robbery in the neighborhood, and several items were missing from the couple's ransacked home, leading police to believe that the couple had been killed after interrupting a burglary. The couple did not have a lot of money, so the killer would have only gotten a few pieces of jewelry in exchange for the lives of the couple. There were no witnesses to the crime, leaving police only known burglars to interview. They quickly ran out of leads to follow. The couple's granddaughter, Nikki, has continued to stay in contact with police in the 50 years since the murders, spurring them to continue trying to solve the case. Normally, she and her mother and brother would have been at Clearwater visiting her grandparents for Christmas on the day they were murdered, but Nikki, 18 in 1968, had returned from college with the flu, causing the trip to be postponed that year. Police continue to submit evidence from the scene for a forensic examination, hoping that advances in technology will help identify whoever killed the couple, but their efforts have yet to make such an identification. Randall Brown was 47 years old and lived in Clearwater, Florida. He was employed as a flight instructor. On Christmas Eve of 1973, he failed to arrive at work, which was out of character for him. His employer called the police. When they arrived at Randall's 8th floor apartment at 9 a.m., they immediately knew something was amiss due to the state of the apartment. They discovered Randall's body inside of a closet. He had been shot and suffered blunt force trauma. Despite the disarray at the scene, police found no signs of forced entry, implying that Randall had willingly let his killer into his apartment. Randall was active in the local bar scene, so he may have met someone while he was out and brought them home. Randall was also openly gay and had dealt with issues in the past with individuals who were hostile towards this aspect of his identity. Police had a lot of luck collecting evidence early on in their investigation. They found fingerprints at the crime scene and found Randall's car on Mandalay Avenue. The car was still in Clearwater, but was on a different island that was part of the city than Randall's apartment. Investigators also learned that Randall's credit cards had been found in the early hours of the morning by a police officer near a dumpster in St. Petersburg, Florida, 20 miles south of Clearwater. The fingerprints have never been matched in any database, and police found no witnesses in either Clearwater or St. Petersburg. Randall's case went cold. In 2013, the Clearwater police spoke to the local media about Randall's case, along with the jeatrans, in hopes that their shared date of Christmas Eve would increase interest in the case and encourage individuals with information about them to come forward. The effort was unsuccessful, but Clearwater police continued to investigate both cases.